Story 1. Uninvited guest in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Bruce Wilkerson, the mayor of Bowling Green, Kentucky, owns a small house that he is renovating. Even though the construction is ongoing, he often stays there overnight. One night in the early morning hours of April 22, 2020, Bruce was awakened by strange noises coming from the basement. As he was struggling to get his bearings, the strong smell of cigarette smoke hit him. It was strange. No one should be down there. Bruce's house had an unusual layout. To get to the basement, you had to go outside and through a separate door. Stepping into the cool night air, Bruce approached the basement entrance. His heart pounded in his chest as he saw blood smeared across the door, an ominous sign that sent a chill down his spine. Not much, but enough to be alarming. With a shaking hand, Bruce opened the basement door. Inside, the dim light revealed a backpack stuffed with women's clothing and other personal items scattered about. Fear gripped him as he realized someone had been hiding here. Bruce immediately called the Bowling Green Police Department. Despite his past police experience, he felt vulnerable and needed their help. After informing the police of his findings and learning that there had been no missing persons reports, Bruce closed the basement door and went back inside. A few minutes later, the house was plunged into darkness as the power went out. Anxiety gnawed at him, forcing him back into the basement. This time, the door was ajar. Bruce's heart raced as he stepped inside again, his flashlight beam piercing the darkness. Then he saw her, a disheveled young woman in her early 20s, covered in dirt and looking very frightened. She seemed to be hiding from someone, her eyes darting back and forth nervously. When Bruce suggested calling the police, she ran off, disappearing into the night before he could react. Nothing had been stolen, and Bruce did not want to pursue her. However, the police conducted a thorough search of the area. The woman was never found, her identity a mystery that still lingered in Bruce's mind. How long had she been there? Who was she running from? The unanswered questions made him feel uneasy, making the darkness in his house darker and the silence of the night more terrifying. Story 2. Abandoned House in Ontario. It was a quiet, chilly evening on August 2, 2010, as a security guard patrolled the grounds of a government-owned airport in Ontario, Canada. His job was to keep an eye on a few abandoned houses scattered among the trees, often targets of vandals and arsonists. Tonight, a suspicious car parked near one of the houses caught his attention. He decided to keep an eye on the area, hoping to come face to face with the car's owner. 2 hours later, with no sign of the car returning, the guard resumed patrolling. When he returned, the car was gone, leaving only an uneasy feeling. He made a report noting the license plate number for future reference. More than a year passed, and the incident faded from memory until November 2011, when contractors arrived to inspect the same house ahead of a scheduled demolition. The contractors, accustomed to the eerie quiet of abandoned buildings, were not easily spooked. However, the basement of this particular house held a chilling surprise. Chains were bolted to the ceiling and stretched to the ground, and the room was painted an eerily white. A construction bench, tools marked with red paint, and water jugs added to the eerie scene. Double-paned windows and insulated walls suggested that someone had meticulously prepared the space. Puzzled by the discovery, the contractors called the police. A security guard's report emerged during the investigation, leading authorities to Robert Edwin White. He had been tracked down by license plate information. Robert, a recent divorcee who harbors resentment towards his ex-wife's best friend Gwen Armstrong, has been revealed as the mastermind behind the dark plot in the basement. Robert, a renovation business owner, confessed to creating the dungeon-like basement, but remained silent about his intentions until intense questioning revealed his sinister plan. He had intended to kidnap Gwen, whom he blamed for his failed marriage. The revelation sent shivers down the spine of the community, highlighting how close they came to a real-life horror story. Robert was charged with trespassing with intent to commit an indictable crime. The house was demolished, but the memory of what could have been remains, casting a shadow over the peaceful rural landscape. Story 3. Hidden Armory. Jerry, a young man excited about buying his first home, moves into an old house previously owned by a deceased man. The house, though old and full of junk, is the perfect starter home for Jerry. As he begins the daunting task of cleaning out the messy basement, he stumbles upon something strange. A piece of plywood, oddly attached to the wall, catches his eye. Curiosity piqued, Jerry pries it open, revealing a hidden room. Step inside, and he finds a startling sight. Stacked gun cases fill the room. Ammo crates are stacked against the walls, and a locked safe stands ominously in the corner. Among the stash, a hand grenade, though inoperative. Jerry's excitement turns to anxiety as he realizes the extent of his discovery. He posted photos of his findings on Imgur, sharing his bizarre experience with the online community. The response was immediate and intense, with users urging him to call the authorities. Jerry's mind raced with possibilities. Who were the previous owners? Why had they amassed such an arsenal? The house, once a symbol of new beginnings, now felt like a relic of hidden dangers. Days turned into weeks, and Jerry struggled to shake off his unease. The safe remained locked, its contents a mystery. He debated whether to open it or leave it alone. The old house, with its creaky floors and dimly lit corners, seemed to hold its breath, waiting for him to act. Despite strong advice to get the police involved, Jerry hesitated. The thought of uncovering more secrets terrified him. What if the safe contained something more sinister than he could handle? Every night as he lay in bed, the secret room haunted his dreams. The once comforting walls of his new home now seemed to be closing in, trapping him in a web of uncertainty. Jerry never updated the online community on the fate of the safe. The mystery of the hidden arsenal remains unsolved, a testament to the darkness that lurks in forgotten corners. The old house, with its secrets buried in the basement, stands as a silent witness to the past, leaving Jerry wondering what other dark truths might be hidden. Story 4. The Creepy Truth of Yelm, Washington. Velma Kellen, a 73-year-old retiree, lived alone in her historic home in Yelm, Washington. As winter approached in 2012, the cold permeated every corner of her home. Despite turning the furnace to full blast, the cold Colby, confused and increasingly uncomfortable, finally decided to call a repairman to investigate. When the repairman went down to the basement, he discovered the problem. The air ducts had been tampered with, diverting warm air into the basement instead of the living area. More disturbingly, the basement floor was littered with empty beer bottles and other. Someone had been living there, unnoticed, under Velma's feet. Velma's mind drifted back to the strange occurrences she had come to dismiss as the routine of old age. The occasional smell of cigarette smoke wafting through the house, the back gate open despite her best efforts to keep it closed. Each now took on a sinister new meaning. Someone had invaded her space, living in the shadows, sucking the warmth from her home while she shivered. The police were called and an investigation was launched. They discovered a cramped space covered with a slab of stone, likely the intruder's entry point. Velma had the ventilation system replaced immediately, but the feeling of being violated remained. The thought of an unseen presence sharing her home, moving in the shadows while she slept, unsettled her deeply. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind against the window, now felt like the ghost of an unknown intruder. Velma couldn't shake the image of a shadowy figure lurking just out of sight, watching her, waiting for the next opportunity to sneak into the basement. The once cozy corners of her home now seemed filled with lurking dangers. Despite the repairs and increased security, Velma's peace of mind was shattered. The police never caught the intruder, leaving her with more questions than answers. How long had they been there? What had they been watching her for? The fear that her uninvited guest might return to haunt her nightly made her home a place of constant. Milla's story became a warning to her neighbors, a reminder that sometimes the monsters we fear come not from our imaginations, but from the shadows within our own home. Story 5. Family in the Bunker. In a remote part of the Dutch countryside, an isolated farmhouse holds a secret that will shock the world. In 2019, a police raid uncovered a bunker beneath the farmhouse where a 58-year-old man and his 6 siblings, aged 18 to 25, had been living in isolation for nearly a decade. The discovery was triggered by the eldest brother's desperate escape to a nearby pub, where he told a cryptic story to the owner. It was the first time he had seen sunlight in 10 years. The owner, sensing the gravity of the situation, immediately called the police. What they found in the bunker defied belief. The siblings, pale and disoriented, had never attended school or interacted with the outside world. They struggled to form coherent sentences, their social skills hampered by years of isolation. The bunker was their entire world, a place they had been taught to believe was their only safe haven from the impending apocalypse. The 58-year-old man, initially believed to be their father, was soon revealed to be an unrelated individual. He had no legal title to the farm and refused to reveal his identity to the authorities. The farmhouse's windows were boarded up and the bunker was self-sufficient with a vegetable garden and livestock. The man had indoctrinated the siblings, leaving them in constant fear of the outside world. The police, having rescued the brothers, were faced with the enormous task of reintegrating them into society. The brothers were taken to a safe place where they could begin to learn about the world they had hidden in. The community was stunned, struggling to understand how such a situation could existed unnoticed. The 58-year-old was arrested, but his silence leaves many questions unanswered. Why did he take these children? What motivated him to hide them for so many years? These children, though free, face a long road to recovery, both mentally, and their story has become a harrowing reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors, even in the most unexpected places. The farmhouse, with its boarded-up windows and bunker, stands as a testament to their lost years, a silent witness to a decade of fear and isolation. The brothers, now set out to explore the world, carry the burden of their past, but also the hope of a new beginning.